for that warm welcome. Unlike the incredible speakers ahead of me, I have not taken the time to memorize all of my speech, so pardon me as I refer to my notes. I'm here today to talk to you about the bioethics or the ethics of biotechnology. I know that many of you have heard my Dwarfism 101 talk, probably multiple times. As an extension of that talk, I would like to look today at biotechnology, the good, the bad, and the ugly. The definition of biotech is the manipulation through genetic engineering of living organisms or their components to produce useful and usually commercial products. The positive outcomes, to name just a few, are, this is coming in a moment, stem cell therapies. Artificial organs are being used to lead to increased lifespan, laser surgery and robotic limbs, in vitro fertilization and embryo banks, and there are myriad of genetic possibilities, including doing simple testing in the comfort of your home, like 23andMe. DNA testing is everywhere today. It's being used in forensic science. Many cases are now being overturned. Thanks to DNA testing, it is used to determine paternity. It's used in environmental science by modifying crops to produce more yield and or to improve resistance to disease. It's used in genetic research, ancestry and precursors to concerning conditions, in utero testing before the baby is even born. It's even being used to determine the true breed of your dog. Genetics 101. An unexpected condition in a baby can result from two different scenarios. If both parents carry a recessive gene that is not expressed, they can produce an offspring with a trait that isn't visible in them. Not the best side, if both parents have brown eyes, baby has blue eyes. This is an example of a difference created by a recessive gene that both parents carry, but they do not display. The other way a child can be born with an unexpected trait is by way of genetic mutation. This is a change in the DNA that is unexpected and which creates a new, totally new trait never seen before in a family. Here we have a family with two children, one of whom has achondroplasia like me. This could be a family photo of my birth family that I was born to. My little brother is now 6'4". Here's another example. They are brothers. We have a young man with achondroplasia standing behind his average-sized brother. I am an example of a genetic mutation. My dwarfism, achondroplasia, came as a complete shock to my family, who was average height, when I was born. They spent a great deal of time tracing back both family trees to see if there had been a relative with the same condition. There had not. Mine is not a unique story. About 80% of individuals born with achondroplasia are like me, and only 20% are like my children, who inherited it from both of us. Personal genetic testing when planning a family. What do you do with that information? You can elect not to have children. Perhaps you want to adopt. You can terminate the pregnancy if you find that there's a genetic abnormality. You can fix the fetus with gene therapy in utero. In addition to, apparently, surgery can be done to the baby in utero. You can accept and prepare for the new condition. Oftentimes when we have Little People of America events, there will be couples that come that are expecting a baby. The woman is pregnant and she's been told that her baby, their baby, is going to have achondroplasia. And they are so lucky because they hit the road running. They're at our gathering to see what lies ahead of them. Or some might want to attempt to correct the condition after the child is born. And that's what I'm here to talk about today. Today there are dozens of pharmaceutical companies claiming that their product can interrupt the natural history of many conditions like mine. One such company, BioMarin, is proving that their drug will override the natural tendencies of of achondroplasia. All parents have to do is inject their child twice daily for their entire childhood until they are done growing, which is typically around 18 years old. Is this a fix? Let's go back to the definition of biotech. The manipulation through genetic engineering of living organisms or their components to produce useful and usually commercial products. I don't know about you guys, but two of these words bother me. Who determines what is useful manipulation and what is dangerous and unnecessary? Last year, BioMarin made a case to the Federal Drug Administration, FDA, that they had met the one and only standard required of pharmaceuticals whose targeted market has an incidence rate of less than 1 in 20,000. Let me break that down. My condition, achondroplasia, happens 1 in 20,000 births. It is therefore coined an orphan disease. Don't quite like that term, but that is the medical term. BioMarin has offered their product, and their audience is an orphan disease, meaning it is a very rare occurrence, 1 in 20,000. First in lab mice, and then 2 trials with actual children, indeed produced increased growth of the long bones, arms and legs. For those of you that have heard my Genetics 101, you know that it is only my limbs that are affected by the short stature. And these are the bones that are being changed as a result of this drug. On the top you have an achondroplastic mouse. Believe it or not, they have them. That has been untreated. And below it you have their mouse that was treated with the product. And you can see that their limbs are indeed longer. You can also see that they are really doing this on an international level. We've got 10 countries there where they are testing this, and they're almost ready to put it to market. In very simplistic terms, the achondroplasia mutation causes the brakes for growing to be turned on more than they should, thereby overregulating the growth. BioMarin's drug intercepts that process, therefore interrupting the signal that is telling the bones to slow down their growth. Because of this, our average growth rate is about 1/2 to 1 inch a year, compared to 2 to 3 inches a year that you all are experiencing. Think of a radio with a clear station, where you can completely hear the words of the song or the dialogue of the DJ, but suddenly there is static, and you can no longer hear the words. That is what BioMarin's drug is doing to the natural process of those people with achondroplasia. Not so fast. After stating that increased height was their only goal, they got a great deal of pushback from individuals such as myself, who feel strongly opposed to changing their bodies. Since our population is such a confident and vocal one, BioMarin started adding other positive outcomes to their advertising. But wait, now they're stating that if the long bones are indeed increasing their length, then so should the vertebra, the backbones. This is a very attractive claim, as over 70% of people with achondroplasia have serious back issues requiring surgery. Our spinal column is very narrow, allowing very little room for the spinal cord. If their claim is accurate and the vertebral space is then widened, we could now be talking about decreased surgeries, which obviously is very attractive. Unfortunately, it will take years of study to prove this claim. On the left is my backbone. You can see that the opening with the spinal cord in the center of the vertebra where the spinal cord should come is much narrower than the vertebra of an average height person like yourselves. And what they're claiming is that they can get that opening bigger as well. So what's the point? Is it cosmetic? Does it increase function due to an added foot of height? Or does it prevent future surgeries? Who knows where this treatment will take us? Like many in the deaf community who refuse the cochlear implant, most people with dwarfism are confident and proud of whom they are. This is hard for the outside world to understand, when to them, the technology significantly helps daily function. The market, therefore, will appeal to average-sized parents who unexpectedly have delivered a dwarf by way of genetic mutation. I fear that they will choose to utilize this treatment before really familiarizing themselves with the very supportive members of Little People of America, many of whom have normal jobs. I only touched on one of the many drugs that are being developed to, quote, treat people with different abilities. It scares me to think that one day in our future, our goal is to have an homogeneous population as free of problems, or wait, are they differences, as possible. This is just one pharmaceutical company that we're talking about, BioMarin, that have all of these drugs. And the one that I pointed out with the arrow is achondroplasia. And you can see, and this actually was from last year, they are almost finished with their third clinical trial. It has been said that America has been called the Great Melting Pot, where all who came from many different lands melted down into one American. I prefer to think of our country as an absolutely delicious salad, where each ingredient has its own distinct taste and color that contributes to the overall enjoyment of the dish. My good friend and noted New York Times bestselling author Andrew Solomon states, "The social progress we've made in accepting many forms of difference is on a collision course with the medical progress that would erase such forms of difference. We should be awake to the characteristics we are weeding out of our society. Many of them contain considerable beauty and contribute to a richer, better world." Thank you for listening.